So Tremors 2 was almost theatrical. But
it feels like it.
It feels like it. That's it.
It feels somewhere in the middle because I feel like you start to get some of those effects that don't gel well immediately in the sequel.
There's a lot of post-production stuff that might go into that.
They use a lot of puppets. I gotta
They
tell
do,
you.
they do. Because I think this was meant, it was a very expensive I think it was, at the time, the most expensive direct-to-video movie.
It could be.
Because I think it was meant for the theater.
But to that point, like, you know, by this time, Full Moon's putting out all these things direct-to-video. So we're getting, like, I think we're getting, what is this, 94-ish? We're getting Puppet Master 4
I think
and
it's
5.
96.
Oh, really? We're getting Puppet Master 4 and 5 around the same time. But, like, this knocked my socks off as a kid because I was used to, like, Full Moon Affair and stuff like that, like coming direct to video.
So that's the thing. So the home video market really, I mean, the 80s was when it got big.
Yeah.
But when it came to like direct to video movies, I feel like the 90s was like when it got like huge.
It was prime. They can bypass getting them released theatrically and they can go right to distribution.
And by the way, this trend still exists to this day. Not as bad as it was in the 90s and 2000s where you have like an okay hit and then a million goddamn. I once told a friend of mine, like, you know, there's sequels to the movie SWAT? And they're like, what?
Who's watching those?
Remember Behind Enemy Lines with Owen Wilson? Really good movie,
That's
right?
a great film.
It's a great film. Did okay. There's 3 of those. So there's exactly.
What war should they take place in?
So it's still to this day they do this where they're like, oh, that movie was moderately successful. And then the biggest offender was Disney, where they would just do they would make one movie, then direct to video sequels.
Oh, well, sure, yeah.
Because your kid is going to buy Lion King 2.5.
Yeah.
They're going to buy it.
Right, and 3 and whatever else.
With the
came
dime
after
store
that.
animation that they kind of, you know, the cheapy one that they did right to video.
But no,
Disney
this
Princess Collection and all that
But
shit.
because I think this was almost meant for theatrical, it stands apart from a lot of those movies. When I didn't realize this. I mean, I watched it on tape in the 1996, but I didn't know. I assumed it was a movie that was in theaters. And I was actually shocked when I was looking it up. I'm like, that was direct-to-video? Holy shit.
And it's one of those things, too, where, you know, like the first one had come out theatrically, but I've seen it on TV 100 times.
Yeah.
There was no previews for Tremors 2. It was just there on the shelf one day. You know what I mean? And it was like, oh my God.
And I'll do the honors here. If you don't know about Tremors 2,
the worms have turned.
Aftershocks.
Aftershocks, the worms have turned.
All right, you don't want to forget that. That's important.
And me and Joe were talking before. These aren't in the movie.
No.
These are not the shriekers. These are not the tongues. These are not the grab. What are these? Who made these for this cover?
They were like, oh, you know, this fake out worked really well. Let's do that again.
Just Photoshop that again, but a little bit more gnarly.
Here we go. They're back. The giant underground creatures that terrorized a desert town in Tremors are now plowing their way through Mexican oil fields, gobbling up everything and everyone around, and only one man can stop them. Well, it's a couple people.
Well, yeah.
In the style of its predecessor, this comedy sci-fi creature feature reunites Fred Ward as down on his luck Earl Bassett and Michael Gross as gung-ho survivalist Burt Gummer, 2 desert desperados who take on the task of
I don't know about that.
take on the task of destroying the monsters. Partner with them is Christopher Garden, a young guy in need of kicks, cash, and a career change.
Grady Hoover.
Huh?
Grady Hoover.
Oh, and yeah. And Helen Shaver, a sexy and intrepid scientist who's seen it all until now. Together, they form an ingenious plan for tracking and killing the creatures that is filled with high-speed action and plenty of laughs until the predators wise up. It's a tongue-in-cheek thriller from the creative team that brought you the original Tremors, with the new outrageous creature effects from Jurassic Park's Phil Tippett and Jumanji's Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff Jr.
I did not know Phil Tippett were. I think that was the go motion. There was a lot of go motion in this then.
Well, no, it was CGI.
It was CG?
Here's the thing with Phil Tippett. He was a go motion-y guy, but I think because he was on Jurassic Park. Huh?
Didn't he invent go motion?
Yes, but I think him being involved with Jurassic Park, he jumped on the digital thing pretty early.
Yeah.
He was very, very smart and jumped onto that because there's like Phil Tippett Studios. They do a bunch of CGI for a lot of stuff, like the Twilight movies and shit. So he jumped on that trend pretty quick. And the CG is for a 1996 direct-to-video movie. This CG looks better than it has any right to. It's
great. Well, okay, fine.
Had it come out in the theater, it probably would have been, with a more budget, would have been more polished. But for what we get, it looks good.
And like, It's not that bad.
It's not that
There's
bad.
a couple sequences, maybe like when it's running towards him, that one scene.
Yes.
Other than that, there's a lot of practical Shrieker stuff in this.
Yeah, because honestly, like, not to jump ahead because we're going through each one of these, but the one after this CG is way worse.
Yes,
but there's a couple scenes with these like the Shriekers that are basically like the chicken walkers or whatever.
Yes.
That when
They're like mousers from Teenage Mutant
Well,
Turtles.
speaking of Jurassic Park, the Graboids, they now have this new thing where once they eat enough, they like slowly die and they give birth to 3 Shriekers.
Well, it's part of their evolutionary biology or how their what is it, life cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Shriekers are bipedal and they love to hunt people. And they're velociraptors. Anyway, they're velociraptors. They're velociraptors with predator vision.
Yeah, I think there's even a kitchen scene in here somewhere.
Yeah, there is a kitchen scene in a later.
Oh, maybe it's one of the later. So again, watch 7 of these over the course of a few days. It starts to blend together a little.
I do like the Shrieker designs. They're really, really cool. It's a fun evolution because I love the first part of the movie where they're like pros at it now. They're like, we know what to do. We know this, blah, 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 blah.
That montage when they're rolling around. Because they get all this stuff from the Mexican government. Oh, by the way, the guy who dies in the oil fields in the beginning is Thomas Rosales Jr.
Yep.
Who we were talking about.
Who I think I often mispronounce as John Rosales Jr. I'm sorry.
I think that was on the Predator 2 episode.
I'm sorry. I think I did it again for Hulk. No. Tom and John, I don't know. I always screw it up. I get the last name right and the junior. It's just the first name I fuck up.
I mean, you're right there. You're right there.
You're right there.
But they get all this ammunition from the Mexican government, and they get whatever they want. So the way that they hunt them, you figure out in the beginning, in the first movies, they hunt by sound. So they get RC cars with fucking dynamite and remote charges on them. It's the coolest thing ever.
Fred Ward's at the lasso with one.
Yeah.
That's great.
But yeah, so Fred Ward, I love his character. So he screwed up. And he didn't get any of the money from all the exploits. Like, so Kevin Bacon married that girl and went off.
And they made a ton of money.
Yes, and he did not.
And he invested in an ostrich farm.
Yes.
Right.
But he does have the Graboid arcade cabinet.
I'm telling you right now, I was just talking to Tony about this. I want to get an arcade for my house, and I was like, what art do I want to put on my arcade cabinet? It's going to be the Graboid.
Okay, yeah.
You got your own one of these.
I love, so Bert, this is when they promote Bert. Bert Gummer is now, I guess he's like the 4th main character in this, really.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
After this, he is the main character, but
because you have, I'm sorry, what was the guy? Christopher, what's his name?
Grady Hoover is like the,
I'll be honest.
He's like the super fan.
I hate this character.
I love him.
Here's my problem with this movie. He is one of them.
Well, bam, 50 G's.
He is literally, we couldn't get Kevin Bacon back, so we changed a couple of lines and made this guy the super fan.
Yeah, I can't get into his character at all. He's kind of annoying, but like not funny annoying.
I got 2 of these. I keep one wrapped in plastic.
I think he was just like, all right, I'm replacing Kevin Bacon. I gotta give it my all, and it's just like, you did too much, buddy. Calm down. Calm down.
I also feel like overall this series has a problem with like we always have to have 2 characters together, which is like from a writing standpoint, fine. I totally get it, and just to keep the plot, kind of cooking.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm just like, I could have just done with the one character in this scene, like it's this movie and a couple coming up, but it's like, man, this character is just annoying and doesn't really do much.
Well, he's a hell of a salesman, that's for sure. Because he gets Fred Ward out of retirement or whatever to go kill some Graboids.
I drove all the way out here.
But Bert's promoted. His wife has left him because he took the fall of the Soviet Union too hard.
I love how that's how they excuse Reba McEntire out of the movie.
You know, she actually blames our problems on the collapse of the Soviet Union.
Well, you did take that kind of hard, Bert.
I love the slow, like, the showing his rec room, and then it pans out. He's got the Graboid head mounted on the wall.
Yeah. One day. One day. That's going in my basement.
You know where we might be able to see a Graboid head?
Where?
At Studio ADI.
Oh, we should totally do that.
We should. Alec Gillis responded to one of my Instagram posts recently. I asked him why the chest burster for the Queen and Alien Resurrection didn't look like Alien 3.
Yeah.
And he gave me a really good response. And Alec, if you see this one, we would love to tour the studio. Can we please tour the studio?
Maybe we can get it in with Nick Benson.
Yes.
He worked on Tremors, and Society, and The Blob.
I really want to go to your studio and look at everything Johanna needs to see the newborn alien maquette you have, the newborn alien statue up
I need
close.
to see some Tremor stuff.
We want to see some Tremor stuff. Can we tour your studio? We're very famous.
Well, he's famous. Can we just come with him?
I like that.
But yeah, the effects are phenomenal. It's a good time. I love how they have to just change everything last minute. They're like, we're pros. Oh, fuck. And then they call Bert in.
It's a whole new goddamn ballgame.
And I love Bert being overprepared, like, leads to their downfall.
What's wrong with being prepared? I love how he's like, is it this one or the third one where he builds the fucking cinder block? No, it's the cinder block wall around the whole compound.
That's the third one.
Okay.
No, this is the one where he brings a ton of MREs, and then they find out that when the monsters eat, they can, like, regurgitate up other shriekers, and then they end up in his truck with all the MREs.
I love when Grady and Earl are eating lunch or whatever, and they see the thing come because they have this radar for graboids, and they see they see it coming, and they hear the noise, like, oh shit, is that one of them? Get up, get off the ground. And it's fucking Bert, and he comes over the hill in this giant truck.
Oh yeah.
And this starts the running gag in the series where he's all like, why? I'm like, I feel like I was not giving critical need to know information.
The Seahawks hat.
And it becomes like a thing, a running gag.
Yeah. They also do have a pretty good gag later in the movie when they're like trying to defeat these things when they're all like on top of like different platforms. And these things are literally like jumping on each other's backs like cheerleaders to try to get to the people.
That was cool because so in the first one, the graboids knew they were on the building but couldn't sense them, so they started like breaking the buildings to knock them down
or digging around them so they collapse.
Yes, and then, so in this one they don't go underground. So I like that they were like, all right, well now we're gonna jump and jump and jump.
Yeah, kind of like goats almost. Like, honestly, seriously though.
No, you're right.
Probably the best bit in the movie. All right, there's two really good bits.
Anti-tank.
The one is that a coyote? I think it's Ian. Two is when he has the anti-tank gun to kill the Shrieker.
3. Man, this stuff tastes like toilet paper.
And that is
God, the MRE, that was
so
good.
There's a point where they have to kill a Shrieker to get to a truck. And he has the anti-tank gun.
Yeah.
So it kills
with one bullet.
Yeah, it kills the Shrieker. And I love as they're running, they're seeing the bullet hole, and then it made it all the way to the car and destroyed the engine. He's like, how could I have known?
I'm kind of with him on that one. How could he?
So they did the Predator effect, but different. They didn't use the heat vision cameras. They apparently wore like red body suits and like
that's how they
manipulated
did
a little
it?
bit. Yeah, they didn't do the heat vision. But yeah, Tremors 2. I think this is really good.
It's a great sequel.
It's a great sequel. I mean, yeah, sure, it sucks Kevin Bacon's not back, but promoting Bert, it turns out promoting Bert was the way to go.
Let me ask you a question. Does Predator 2 suck because Arnold Schwarzenegger isn't in
doesn't.
it? Okay, then.
I would argue that this one is way lower on the scale compared to the first one for me.
Really?
Yeah, it's just even Fred Ward doesn't save it for me. It's just
compared to the first one, sure.
Like I still think it's good. Yeah. Like we were joking about earlier, it's fine and fun for me.
It's a good time. Like you can never go wrong going back to back with those.
I do love that the size or the paleontologist ends up being the girl on the calendar.
Oh, Miss October 1974.
Yeah, so he's like, I have this up here to show that I will never be able to achieve this, and then he ends up meeting her.
She's there to remind me to stop chasing after things I'm never going to get.
And she even like does the pose, like that was
she like
funny.
bends over.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I guess I might be more nostalgic for it because it was my first Tremors movie.
Sure.
I definitely had seen it before because it was coming back to me while I was watching it, but I remembered very little of it.
Yeah.
I will say I do like this trend that all the sequels kind of run with, where it's like, okay, well, how do we make these things more intimidating? Oh, they have a new form, or they have a different thing about them that makes them scary.
Yes.
It's pretty cool. And S.S. Wilson, I think he writes...
Yes, he
Does
writes
he write
the
most
first
of them?
4, I think.
The first 4.
Because they made that company Stampede Entertainment, which did the first 4 and the series.
And he directs what? Tremors 2 and
He
Tremors
directs
4.
Tremors 2, maybe some of the episodes. I don't know if he did 4. I don't have the box in front of me.
I think it might be one of them. I know he does 2 of the movies, for sure.
But yeah, solid time. And then we move on to Tremors 3. Sean, will you do the honors?
Sure. Hand me that bad boy.